Okay, I'd like to welcome you to the July 9th, 2013 regular meeting. Would you rise and join me on the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, minutes. We have a motion to accept the minutes of the regular May 14th and the special.
Okay, you did that already.
Oh, God, it's
doing
May.
June
I'm
11th and
sorry,
July
you're
9th.
right.
But you have it on the consent agenda.
June 11th and July 1st.
That kind of threw me.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Okay, I did move that. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't exactly with it this past week, folks.
Understandable.
Motion that the bills be paid in the following amounts. I know Eileen and I went over the bills.
Yes.
Everything good? I didn't have any
Fine.
problems.
No, I didn't either.
You want to put that in form of a motion?
I'll make that motion that we
Second.
accept the bills. as
All in
presented.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Water and sewer report for your reading pleasure. Correspondence. The only thing I have this month is from, which I just got recently, the New York State Department of Labor, Division of Safety and Health. I actually have to look more of this up, and I'm going to have to call them to find out exactly what we have to do. But public employers are required to comply with the law when we have combined total of 20 or more full-time permanent employees. We should have to develop and implement a written workplace violence prevention program and provide employee training on such. So we have to do a risk evaluation. They give an outline of what the program, what should be included in the workplace violence prevention training program. So I don't know whether they have like a template that we can work from and develop, and if NYMER probably has something, we can work with them as well. So
Is this mandated, Carol? I've never
Yeah.
even heard of this.
yes, this is new.
Is this for every employer?
20 or more full-time, right?
Well, that would be
Every
us.
public employer to perform a risk evaluation of their workplace to determine the presence of factors, public employers, yeah. So, yeah. So,
Another hoop.
yep. So I'll be working on that this next month or so,
Another person they can hire.
seeing what we can do about it. Division reports. Highway, Glenn.
Okay, we used 345.7 gallons of gas, 97.3 was non-highway, 248.4 was highway. Used 1,165.2 gallons of diesel, 187 was non-highway, 978.2 was highway. We had 6.25 hours of overtime due to sealing roads. June 1st had the spring cleanup, had about 3.5 containers, which was about the same as last year. We mowed right-of-ways in Beaver Brook, and our tractor quit out there. Turned out to be an electrical problem underneath the fuse box where the relays are. Got that up and going. We mowed right-of-ways in Irish Hill and Francis Drive. We paved a couple of bad spots on Francis Drive. We mowed right-of-ways on Gable, Perry Pond, Luxton Lake, Lake Ridge, Matthias Wyden, Swamp Pond, Chalk Road. Did some pothole filling on Deep Hollow, Rock Lake, Coshocton Turnpike, A Road and Hankins Road. Ditched Trout Pond where needed. Met with a county bridge inspector and the bridge engineer about the bridge on Swamp Pond. They said the bridge was in good shape overall. Picked up a tree on Hickory Lane that fell across the road over the weekend. Mowed right-of-ways around the town for the 4th of July weekend. Sent a couple guys down to do the weed whacking around Kirk Road and down around Lake Erie Bridge and some of the light poles down there. Spent a morning at the pit correcting some violations we were written up about. We dug a few test holes. There's a big pile down there where they buried stumps. Supposedly DEC told them they could bury the stumps there. Now the DEC says, no, you can't bury the stumps there. But when we dug them up, a lot of them are decaying down enough that it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Also, I met with John and what's his name, Brian from Land and Soil, and they went there and looked over the pit too, and they don't think it's going to be a major problem down there. We just kinda graded out and buried the stumps down in the bottom where they're supposed to be. Okay, we went down on the flats and did some trimming on the roads around the flats. We chip sealed Black-a-Waxon, part of Coshecton Turnpike, Irish Town, Francis Drive. Then we went to Beaver Brook and chip sealed Blind Pond, Dexheimer, Ryer, Weber, Utopia, and Trout Pond A. And we have a truck sitting out to Palmer's right now. One of the filters in the exhaust were plugged. Turned out one of them's cracked and will need replacing. It's a $3,000 filter. The other filter they thought they were gonna have to replace because the sensor, they didn't think they could get the sensor out without stripping it, but they did get it out, so we have to buy a sensor for it. I don't know what the answer is to these trucks. Nobody else seems to know either, including Ned with his truck, so he knows about what I'm talking about. One other thing I don't have here in my report is I met with John and Brian from Land and Soil and the DEC up on Swamp Pond because they've been dragging their butts on giving me a permit to replace a pipe up there. But I think we finally arrived at a solution and I'm kind of waiting on the permit for that. I do have the 2 permits for Perry Pond, but we gotta wait till it gets good and dry before we do them. So, and that's all I really have.
I'd like to thank you for the update.
What do you mean, how much more?
How much more hours do you think we're having to get?
Hours?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have over a week of hours in there.
Okay, just to give you an idea how much we're putting into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we have to do, we have no
Yeah.
choice. For the last bunch of times, they've just renewed the permit, and that's not the answer
Yeah.
to the problem, because we just wanna get done with it and turn it back and be totally, you know,
Okay.
free of it. It's, basically what happened, there's a big hole down in the bottom. I think we dig up all the stumps and move them down there, and we just go in and we grade everything off. There's already a berm around most of it. We just got a couple spots where I did haul some ditching material down in there to build the berm up, so nothing washes down and goes down in the 10-mile river. That's one of the biggest concerns. The good thing is the DEC guy did recommend I go to John and Brian on the Land and Soil, and they'll pretty much take whatever recommendations they have,
Okay,
because,
all three of them.
and they're a lot more lenient than the DEC is.
All right.
So we don't have to hire an engineer then, Glenn?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind
Actually, that John and Brian, they're from the Soil and Water, it's like all my all the pipes that I need permits for, I basically turn it to them, they do all the legwork, I mean, that's what they're there for. And it beats trying to do it yourself, because you beat yourself up over trying to get permits.
of, and we're gonna see an end of this thing eventually.
End of what?
The pit.
I wanna get it ended by this year, because
Good
the
idea.
permit actually runs out in December.
All right.
And if I can, they told me if I can get it seeded, Darren, by Labor Day weekend, get it seeded, well, there's a good chance they'll you know, accept it
Okay, good.
and let it go back reclaimed.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're putting on Facebook where you are every day.
Well, I do it a lot because it helps a lot of people with traffic.
It
That way
does,
they know
yep.
where we're working at, so, you know, if you find out we're paving Kirk Road up there, you know to kind of stay away from it or whatever we're doing. I think it does work.
I
It
think
gets
it's
the word
great.
out there.
Yep, it does.
If we have to track you down, we know where you are.
Yeah, now I can't hide no more.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Tom?
We used a load of stone to level out the shed, the base and the floor in the shed at the sewer plant. I received a call from 115 Bridge Street about low water pressure. Upon investigating, I found that there was some rust in their meter, so I replaced the meter and everything worked fine after that. Installed 3 water meters and turned the water on for vacation homes. Put down some small trees around the water tower. Replaced the meter base at a home over in Feagles Lake due to freezing. The homeowner never had us turn the water off to the building, and they lost heat over the winter and their meter base froze, so that was at their cost. Received a call from the whistle stop about a sewer smell, when I was talking to Norman Bernie earlier, that, so I dug it up, I resealed it, cleaned it up, and they said they smelt it again, so I'm gonna have to go down and look at a grease interceptor and see if that's done correctly or not. Look a little more into it. 62 School Street called me, said that they think their service line's leaking because they're getting water in the basement. I went, I listened to it, couldn't find that it was leaking, and after explaining to them that I didn't hear a noise or I had no suspicion that the line was leaking, they informed me that it only leaks after rain. So They answered their own
There
question.
you go.
So, but they're really nice people, so. Moved caustic soda from buildings, from number 2 to the buildings as needed. Ordered, more caustic soda and chlorine. He received a call Saturday night over at Mr. Bielfeld saying he had no water and his well pump wouldn't shut off. Cause everybody from well 3 up the hill has well pumps because we don't have enough pressure to push it up there. So I checked out, I found that his pump was airbound, airlocked. I primed it, and it would pump it up to 40 pounds, but it wouldn't get it up to 50 pounds. So I found that his pump was weak. So I reduced his pressure switch. So I got it, instead of a 30-50, I got it to a 20-40, and informed that he really needs to replace his pump, and he did. So, that problem is solved. We completely scraped bed 2. We took about an inch off, cleaned it up, fixed it up, made it look good. And we're about halfway done with bed 3. We read water meters and sent out bills along with leak letters. Yesterday we sold 18,000 gallons of water to Aqueduct. And I had the front wheel bearings replaced on the Ranger.
Is this the first time this year for Aqueduct?
Yes, it is. They did a pool right up there on 55.
Okay, gotcha.
So
What do we charge them?
it's, I wanna say it's $12.55 for 6,000 gallons. No. $12.55 every 1,000 gallons after the 6,000. And then I believe it's 76 and change
Per 1,000.
for the first 6,000.
Right.
So I'll start over, so it makes more sense. The first 6,000 gallons is 76 and change.
That's
Any-
it, just $76.
Right, and change, for the first 6,000 gallons. Anything, any 1,000 after that is $12 and change. It's more money than what the customers
yeah.
pay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, quite a
So,
bit more.
you know, cause we make a profit off of it.
And that's for the, once they do that first 6,000, then it's for the year, it's $12.66, no.
No, to my knowledge, it's
Every
every
time.
trip.
Yeah.
So he came and he got $18,000 that trip,
18,000
50
gallons.
18,000 gallons that trip.
Makes 18,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be happy,
Nice.
if he wants that money, if he wants to pay it, I'll take it.
Absolutely.
But so that day, that's what he got.
Yeah.
So if he calls me up tomorrow and says, I need another 18,000, he's gonna get,
Right.
it's like
Same.
starting over again.
I go. Yeah.
That's how I understand it, if I
Yeah.
could be mistaken.
And what
No,
are,
that, you're right.
Yeah, I am right,
Yeah.
so
what
it's
do we
each.
charge like a homeowner? What's our cost per?
I don't have the rates in front of me, but it goes by 9,000 and change, there's a flat rate. And then anything over that you pay per 1,000 gallons.
Can you just break that out for
So-
me or something so I can just look at that and see?
Yeah,
Make sure we're
it's,
making money on the thing.
oh yeah. And every 1,000 gallons used after that is 12 and change. And then as you go to the 30,000 gallons, it would be less. But the average person doesn't.
If you could just break that out on a spreadsheet or something, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I have it, I'll print it out for you and I'll put it in your mailbox.
Thank you.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we did that not too long ago. We went over all those rates and
I
made
wanna make
sure
sure
that
we're
we
making
were.
money, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's cool, I understand.
Okay, building, Gary.
For June of 2013, I conducted 10 construction-related inspections. We did a fire and safety inspection at the Boy Scout camp. I did 3 complaint-related inspections, issued 2 certificates of occupancy, 3 certificates of compliance, issued 6 building permits, including 1 for electrical, 1 for commercial construction, 1 for a residential addition, 1 for an accessory building. We conducted 2 CO and violation searches. I declared 2 buildings as being unsafe. We received 2 complaints, issued 2 violations, and we collected $900.80 for this month. I went to training for continued education on the subject of illicit discharges. It has to do with illegal discharges of water and dirty water and things like shouldn't be dumped onto the ground and such. I also attended a meeting in Monticello on June 18th for public safety as it relates to the electric licensing board. That's it.
Thank you, Gary. Assessors report, I emailed everybody.
Yep.
Okay, and could not make it this evening. UDC. Hi, Susan.
Well, one of the things out of sequence, first of all, our meetings are out of sequence because the UDC meeting for this month is this Thursday. But basically, I'm gonna give you a report based on the Project Review Committee and the Worm Committee. And one of the things that happened, which has an impact on the UDC, is the passing away of Jack Niflot. And it's really sad. I mean, he's been a member of this community for forever. And he was also the Secretary Treasurer. So that's a struggle to replace him. What I think will happen is, at the Worm Committee, they talked about the oral histories that were done that the Park Service has. And that was like one of Jack's babies. And I kind of think that just in his honor, that will not get dropped. And somehow or another, we'll figure out how, as Tony said, digitize, at least that way you know that nothing will happen to him, and then figure out how to get them out there and be shared. So that was one thing that happened. So Worm is the first committee. Local waterfront revitalization has a $100,000 grant to hire a consultant, and to make recommendations to improve accesses, which would include the existing accesses in Tusten, but I don't know which one. But we are supposed to form a committee and be a part of that process. So we only have 2 DEC accesses. I assume it's got to be one of those that's due for some type of improvement. Presentation. Yeah, there's a big discussion on the presentation, as we had from New York's DEP, is to have another presentation. Tony was suggesting on the National Blueways, which is a national program, and I have no idea really what it's about, but it will be discussed. They discussed it, and I think that'll be followed up on, and it may evolve into a presentation. And the other people were suggested, like U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Who's the other people? I don't know.
That was basically, I think Don reached out to Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission and I think Friends of the Upper Delaware River, because Jeff Skelding is the new executive director who used to work in Washington, D.C. And now that he is the executive director of Friends of the Upper Delaware up in Hancock, which is an advocacy group that we would have them speak either at the Water Use Resource Management Committee or at the full meeting. What we were trying to do is we're trying to get guest speakers at each of our meetings to educate not only the board but also the public as well. And if they deem it important enough, then the speaker would, like Tom Murphy of New York City, he'd speak before the whole council.
Yeah.
And it would be videotaped as well.
It's exactly, so it's available to everybody, whoever
Right.
comes up. So, yeah, that's really cool, that they're doing that. Project review, regarding Tusten, Project review basically goes through all the towns that various zoning issues are being discussed, whatever is happening in the different towns. So I'm not gonna go through all those towns, because most of it doesn't affect us. But in terms of our zoning rewrite, Travis Odell was supposed to contact Ed Jackson regarding our zoning rewrite as it impacts the scenic and recreational river district. One of our zoning districts is in the corridor. So any changes to that district would be of interest to the UDC. My feeling is that the zoning committee is very knowledgeable about the river management plan, and that's already been taken into consideration. This is interesting. Damascus is proposing a cell tower on McCubbins Road, which is exactly opposite to us. It's in the corridor. It's a non-conforming use in the corridor. So there is a dilemma here, and the draft letter will be created and discussed at the meeting Thursday. So anybody who's interested in that, I guess it would be sort of like right in our face.
Can I ask, is that the township is looking to put the cell tower in, or is it a private company?
I gather it's the township, and
'Cause-
there's 2 of them. The other one is on Jurgensen's Road.
There seems to be one I can see right across, coming down from my hill, I can see one up the river valley.
I think that one's not being used though, because they run into right-of-way problems getting to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, after they got the tower up, all of a sudden there's a right-of-way problem and they can't get that one up and running.
But if it's the township in Damascus, they wouldn't even need it, that's a zoning issue, it's not a zoning issue for them.
Okay. talked about anything else. And it affects us because the location is more here than there.
Right.
Right? And then the other thing is, my Gibson letter, which maybe will come back
Yes.
on the agenda. Okay.
It's on.
Yeah, all right, very good, that's it.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Beautification Committee, Jane.
Simple report. The construction of the planters for Main Street continue. We have help from Job Corps. And several members of the beautification group have met with library personnel to discuss the Golden Feather Award and the outdoor classroom that we've proposed. And lastly, our newest member is Glenn Swenson, who picked out a boulder.
You did what?
He picked out a
I
boulder.
picked out a rock and they actually liked it. Can you imagine that?
That's great, congratulations.
Didn't have to go through 6 or 7 of them?
You got an eye for rocks, though.
Yeah.
Rocks. We have to consult Glenn.
Everybody does. This town, we grow them.
My daughter was picking up pebbles. She had gone to a store, and she lives up in Massachusetts, and a bag of pebbles was like $6 or $7. I mean, I got a beach full. I says, "Get in business,
Yeah,
lady."
there you go. LDC, Andrea?
Yeah, we had a busy month. I gave you guys the written report so you can review it in more detail later if you feel like it. Donations, grants, and awards. $250 came from Sunny Service Station for fireworks. That was a nice contribution. $500 donation to the TLDC Community Garden by Mildred's Lane in Beach Lake, Pennsylvania. Thank you. There's a $500 grant finally came in from the Geary Foundation Sullivan Renaissance for the drip irrigation community garden. So we're really grateful for that. There's a Norcross grant pending for $500 to the TLDC. I'm going to call about that and make sure that they make that honor on their pledge. And the DEC Environmental Justice grant's still pending. I haven't gotten word from them. I think that's just tied up in their process. We had a board meeting on July 1st with officer elections. Eileen Falk was elected as treasurer and Juliette Herman was elected as secretary. So we have a full board, which is great. There's a $300 surplus, which was gifted from the Tusten Community Garden to the TLDC for general operating expenses for Cooper Neiman's audit. So hopefully we can match some of that with other contributions, so we can bring that up to $1,500 to conduct that audit in an expeditious fashion. And the August meeting will vote on a resolution, hopefully. We're going to push for that to conduct the audit and get that expedited. Okay.
Also, I asked Andrea to also forward to the board all of the grant applications that we had voted on, that resolution, that, so the board knows, so everybody did receive them, I would assume, and is up to speed on those.
And Andrea, have you signed a check for the fireworks?
We need to do that. Ned needs to sign on that too, so he's a co-signatory.
I'll be down there tomorrow.
Yeah, just let me know. Shoot me an email and we'll do it.
I'll be down there between 8 and 12 tomorrow.
Okay.
Just, do they have a check? Where's the check
I'd
at?
like to give all of this to Eileen, so that,
Oh, okay.
you know, she's the treasurer.
So if you do that tonight, then and I'll just take it down there, I'll sign it, and you can stop by if you would, please.
Right, okay. That's easy.
And when should I stop
You're the
by?
treasurer.
Should I stop by tomorrow? I'll
After-
wait till the next day.
It's complicated, but.
I'll just take it down there. Actually, we can both sign it tonight.
That's true.
That's true. Hello.
Clever.
There you go. Okay.
But
Old
I'm not
business.
giving it to you.
Open the town hall wall caps quote.
Okay, we got 2 quotes. Where did that come in? Oh, one of these committees. One is from Larry Mitchell of Mitch's Home Innovations. That was by email. Okey-dokey. Reeves Mountain Construction in Narrowsburg. Number 2.
5,800. This was from Aaron Mitchell.
see that one quote, please, the second one there?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Not the other one.
This one? Oh,
Yes,
yes,
please,
there
thank
you
you.
go.
It's 85.69.
It was only the two.
Yes.
This is
There
for you.
were no bids, for the snow removal at,
Okay.
which is the second
We're
time we
gonna go
did
the
this.
second option on that.
We're gonna
Glenn,
have
can you
hire
meet again?
somebody, yeah, we'll
And
need
come
to
up with a
talk.
second
Same
option.
Same
stuff.
specs.
Yeah, there you go. Sit down.
Do we have a minimum on insurance for those guys?
What do you mean?
For liability insurance and workers' comp?
Whatever the building code is.
Yeah.
They'll have to get a building permit, right?
For which?
For the
To do
town
this
hall.
for the town hall?
Yeah, they probably should.
Yeah, definitely, okay. Then that'll answer that question.
Yeah.
How much are they?
The, Larry Mitchell is $5,800 and Reeves Construction is $8,569.
Was that including fixing the gutters, Carol? No?
Inspection, repair, and replace
Yes.
gutters.
Yeah.
windows,
Yes.
that was in the bid.
It was in the bid.
I thought so.
Both the bid specs look like they copied them
Yeah, exactly.
verbatim, which is good.
You wanna look again, Carl?
Yeah, let me see, Larry
Yeah,
Mitchell. Does that one include the gutters?
Yeah, it was good.
It pretty much is exactly this one.
Language each.
Reeves is a little more comprehensive in its wording.
Yeah, and it wasn't a technical bid, all we asked for was quotes, so it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, our quote.
Are we adjourning it all this month?
Recessing?
Yeah.
Do you plan on it?
Okay, then we don't have to, we can,
What's that?
no, be all right with it.
You'd be all right with it? Okay. Yeah, that's liability insurance there. This one,
Need clarification, maybe?
yeah,
We could put the award on basis of on a clarification.
yeah, I just wanna clarify that we can do the, gutters with that.
Mm-hmm.
Before you go to new business, I want to show the board the
Oh, wait,
samples.
and just wait until we
Yeah,
just.
hold on one
let's-
second,
I
okay?
have a question, I don't understand what, I couldn't hear you.
The gutters,
Are they on both bids?
it's not
Yeah.
clear, is it?
I thought it was.
Okay,
It was in the specs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, they were.
One's got it in
on
front of
the specs. Actually, he's not alluding to it too well here.
no, that's what I wanna clarify.
Yeah, we gotta clarify this, that's why I say we might actually have to table this till next month.
Okay.
Get it clarified,
Well, why don't we award to the low bid,
on the basis of clarification.
on the basis of clarification that it included the gutters?
Right. Is that gutters all the way around, total gutter
Yeah, I
replacement?
put on everything.
Not replacement, repair.
Repair and
Repair.
replace.
Repair and
Replace where
clean.
necessary.
Okay,
Yeah.
and could we put, did they call for like those screen guards on top of the gutters to prevent that from blocking up?
No, we didn't call for
No.
that, that'd be an upgrade, really.
Just ask them how much more it
Okay,
would be.
yeah, ask them for
Yeah.
how much more to upgrade it.
Because then there's no maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I don't think there's a problem here anyway, because you don't have no trees higher than the gutters.
Yeah,
trees.
it's not-
I know, but every time I clean gutters and there's no trees around, I'm totally.
And I know I used to, as you know, I used to do a lot of odd jobs and stuff, and a lot of times those screen guards, next thing you know, they plug up too. So,
It's a lot better than cleaning them out every year,
I was gonna say that, because we've had as much trouble with the screens as we've had with the,
You gonna contact them then, Carol?
Yeah.
with 6 of 1 type thing.
Yep, okay, so can I have in the form of a motion that we award to Larry Mitchell, the low bid for $5,800, with,
Based on the.
based on the, clarification that
On
it
the gutter.
does include the
The
gutter
gutters, yeah,
cleaning and repair, Yeah.
repair and replacement where necessary.
okay?
And can we just add in there, based upon the building inspectors, I mean, some guy may say, I don't need the repairs.
Certificate of liability.
Well, no, but the building inspector's approval, in other words, if he says he's not gonna replace that gutter and the building, and Gary says, listen, that gutter's not gonna last.
Right,
So it's gotta be with your oversight. That fair?
All right, yeah,
Sure.
Sounds good.
okay,
I'll make that motion.
okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion items, letter to Chris Gibson.
Oh, and one related, before we go to that,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
I hate to do
I
this.
just wanted to show
Yeah.
the board the sample.
okay.
We approved this already, but this is the sample for the, covers for the,
Oh, gotcha,
the new
yeah.
table. They lock together magnetically.
Oh, wow, nice.
Okay, great.
Nice job.
You guys can look at them. Give them back to me, but here's all the colors that are available, and I should be able to match the furniture
Table, right.
exactly.
So those are the heat resistant ones, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those up to 500
Yeah,
degrees.
one.
They send you a crayon with it to draw on and then wipe it off.
Carol, we're gonna need a letter sent to Isling, he's gonna have to provide that report, I'd say within the next 2 weeks, or else I would just be in favor of looking for somebody else to provide it in a timely manner. That
Right.
engineering contract, I've had enough waiting.
I haven't heard anything from them at all.
No, this is BS.
We hadn't gotten an invoice
Right.
from him. I called him and he's been very busy. We just got the invoice from him to give him the upfront, the 500 upfront that he requires, so.
Okay, but I'd like
Yeah.
to see within the next 2 weeks, see us have
Okay.
something in hand.
Would you give him a
I
call
will
then?
touch base with them tomorrow.
Thank you.
And so if he doesn't perform by the next meeting, we probably
Yeah,
should
I'm
hire
gonna
somebody else.
Bid the whole damn thing. You know,
That gives them
somewhere
30
along the line-
days.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, there, this timeliness factor's gonna have to come into this.
Okay, letter to Chris Gibson. Y'all received that? Any comments?
Yeah, Carol, I just sent a letter to Governor Como and every governor and lieutenant governor, DEP official. Actually, Bernie's read the letter. I should probably circulate it to the board. The Barnes landfill has been spewing hazardous waste leachate since since we stopped working there back in 2002, 2003 when Mr. LaGore passed away. And the DEC totally turned their back on it. They declared, in order for the DEC to get refunded for the money that they spent on it, they declared the Barnes landfill a Superfund site. If you can go on YouTube, I just was down there about 3 weeks ago, and I took a video of this leachate coming up out of their collection system, bubbling up out and running down through the woods down to the river. And I referenced that. So I think the DRBC has known about this for many, many years and refuses to do anything about it, as well as the Cortez landfill, which was allowed to leach into the Delaware River for how many years now? Since 1984. They're just now doing the final stages of the remediation. So I think the DRBC is nothing but a paper tiger, if you will. They don't do their job. They're not looking out for the people downstream. There's millions of people that rely on the water from the Delaware River for their drinking water from Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and they're not doing their job. I am not okay with sending them a letter until they start doing, protecting the water that they're sworn to protect. And I can give everybody a copy of the letter. I'll circulate it, and it just went out, so I'm getting after, and I sent it to every newspaper, every major newspaper, and media source downstream.
No.
Yes, sir.
Whereabouts is this Barnes landfill you're talking about?
Barnes is in Highland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by Minnesink Battlegrounds. You go past Minnesink Battlegrounds, and it's above Kittatinny Campgrounds, and it goes right through their campground, really. And it's millions, and you can't believe the water, the leachate coming out of this. And it's, when I worked for Kittatinny Canoes back in the 70s, we were up there, Mr. Barnes owned the landfill, and there was old cars, batteries, refrigerators,
Yeah, I
paint,
was
you
up there
name
too.
it. It's an unlined landfill. It was capped.
I
But
think
there's-
I know where it's at, because they were
It's-
just chipped, we
it's-
don't.
it's up near Woods
down
Road.
there.
Near
Yeah.
Woods Road, when you
Yeah.
take Minnesink up,
Yeah.
but near Woods Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge, it's huge,
Yeah, it was quite a spot back in there. I remember
I
going
don't know
back
what
in there
it
with
was,
county
I know what
vehicles.
you're talking about.
right.
It's the outer marker for Newburgh.
It's the what?
It's the outer marker for Newburgh when you're coming into the land. So you line up with the landfill when you're coming in, and that takes you right to the end of the runway.
Is it glowing?
Not quite. Don't go for that, Jane.
Newburgh?
Yeah.
To the Air Force Base in Newburgh.
Oh, really?
That's the outer marker for the Air Force Base.
I'm a pilot.
It's on all the charts.
Okay. I'm not, but anyway, it's definitely, and the DEC refused to do anything with it, the DRBC refuses to do anything, so I'm hoping that maybe if all the people downstream start forming class action lawsuits against New York State, then maybe New York State, which approved the landfill, will finally do the right job, and the DRBC, and do something about all this leachate that's
Well, if
flowing
it's a
into it.
Superfund site, they're not handling it? I
No.
mean,
You can go online, Google it,
We're-
Barnes Landfill Superfund.
we're dealing with ours. I mean, not us in particular,
Right.
but I mean, we've done our share, but we're.
Well, Mr. Barnes
liable
passed
for it.
away, he was given a felony felony.
Right.
Because the leachate leaked out when he was there and
Right.
owned it, and, because we were doing, a lot of work for
Right.
him, and he couldn't keep up with it, because when it rains, it comes out of those manholes like that. And he was given a felony,
Well, Superfund isn't that EPA?
they got Superfund funds, they declared it, New York State DEC declared it a Superfund site, and they got funding to reimburse themselves, and then walked away from it.
What township is that in?
Highland.
Highland, what are they doing about it? Hmm?
They don't have any money. What happened was the town, of course, when nobody pays the taxes, of course, then the county takes it over, the town takes it over, and they refuse to do that, of course, because they don't want that liability.
Why would we're not gonna get involved in it though, right? I mean-
No.
No, this is, we're contemplating sending a letter to Congressman Gibson, who's, in support of funding for the DRBC with Delaware River Basin Commission, which,
But the town of Highland is not doing anything about it?
It's not really their responsibility. The DEC did try to coerce them to take care of it, but they didn't. They don't have the money for that. You're talking millions of dollars, Brian.
And where's it running into the river?
Right below Kittatinny campgrounds. Right there.
Well,
in
that's-
Bergen.
he's pretty environmentally,
Yeah, but he's just running through his land.
he does the big cleanups and everything in the river, and he must be involved in that too, if he sees that. It's right above his campground.
Susan?
What I was gonna say is one of the advantages of being right next to the UDC and being a part of it is that they come to the meetings, as does Bill Rudge. And I noticed that when it came to the flows in the Delaware, the representative for years, Phil Chase, he would nail Carol Collier every time she came, which she comes about every, I'm gonna say other month or 4 times a year, whatever, it's only once a month. But he never let it go. He made her answer him about the flexible flow management plan, about the releases, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't see why the town of Highland would not let it go about the Barnes landfill. But I would certainly bring it up. And Bill Rudge isn't, yeah, he's a bureaucrat, he's from the DEC, but he comes quite frequently, almost always, and he does answer your questions. And I'd be perfectly happy to ask him, what the heck's wrong with you? You have a landfill in the town of Highland, you're not doing anything about it. And if people come to the meeting as a member of the public and say, at the very beginning, comment on the agenda and say, I want the Barnes landfill on the agenda and I want to talk about it, then they have to talk about it. So, I really think it's worth bringing up though, because that's pretty disgusting.
I met with Willie Janeway when he was Region 3 Commissioner about 1.5 years ago. And we walked down there and I showed him, what was going on, and he had another DC official there. And he promised me that they would start working on it and doing it, and then they said Albany's going to go after the responsible parties, but that's never happened and is not happening. And this is not my first letter, this is my 3rd letter, and the DEC has yet, of today's date, the DRBC, the DEC, Governor Cuomo has yet to write me a letter back and answer my questions.
Okay, was the questioning effective? When that happened, was questioning of her effective? Did it have a good outcome or any outcome at all?
It elicited more information.
Okay.
It probably, to some extent, kept it more in the front than in the back.
Okay.
But, your guess is as good as mine with the DEC. That's what Ned is saying, it's not hopeful. It doesn't sound hopeful. But what the heck, you have a person there in person. You might as well talk to them about it. And Andy Boyer is not exactly a shy person. So, it's like his job, it's within his town. But the other thing I wanted to bring up about Chris Gibson, in researching it, I discovered that for the first time, the whole watershed is in one person's district, namely his. So he has formed this I cannot remember the name of that stupid thing, Watershed Advisory Group, very forgettable. So anyway, it's got I don't know, I haven't really fully investigated it, but he realized that every part of the whole watershed is in his district. So I think it's a good idea to to make that contact, maybe somebody, I will bring it up at UDC, that they do that. It's really more their role than Tusten's role.
Right.
To be part of that. But I think it's important the UDC be part of that, the Park Service be part of that, the usual folks. So that was another interesting thing to find out in researching Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Carol? Any other comments?
point in us doing everything here if it's just being taken right apart down the line? You know, they gotta get their act on.
You have any comment?
Well, our comment is to approve this letter.
Yeah.
Okay, has everybody read the letter?
Mhm.
There's a couple typos here, but I mean, the thing is, the letter's fine. I mean, we're basically asking, in the second paragraph, our purpose of writing to you is to request your support of Senate Bill S-601, Water Resource Development Act of 2013, which secures promised federal funding for the Delaware River Basin Commission. The Senate has already approved this measure, and we're asking you to give it your full support when it comes before the House of Representatives. For details on the bill and financial status of the DRBC, see DRB's press release of May 20th, 2013. I mean, that's basically what, everything else
Right.
is very nice.
Yeah.
It's all, you know,
Yeah.
tells us all about the river valley, but that's the second paragraph. We're basically asking for
Sums
that,
it up,
so.
yep.
I just got a letter from Chris Gibson's office yesterday for this Narrowsburg school application. And I'd be happy to communicate with his liaison, you know, for the town if you want me to. You know, cause I'm in direct communication with them, so.
I don't have a I still think, I mean, this is a positive letter, and don't have a problem with sending it with the federal funding requested for the DRVC, because I think if we don't have the engine to correct the problems, I mean, maybe there's problems within the DRVC itself, they need to clean their act up and get on things like you're saying, but I think if we don't have anybody taking care of it, then we have a problem.
Well, if you look at the I deal with a lot of the local wastewater treatment plants, everyone in Sullivan County, a lot of them in Orange County. And with the DRBC, let's say the town of Thompson, they just went for an expansion to their wastewater treatment plant. So in order to get the DRBC's blessing, they charged them $50-some thousand just to review the plans that the DEC, they're a paper tiger. They're there to do nothing but make money to substantiate their existence, and they don't do anything good for the water quality. And if you talk to any of your wastewater treatment plant operators, Bernie's involved, he'll tell you, and they'll tell you that they're nothing more than just another bill, and they don't do anything to improve the water quality in this basin. They're nothing but a bureaucratic paper tiger.
Right, but they're not gonna go away. They're an interstate agency that was created under, I think, John Kennedy's administration. And what, again, the letter asks for is federal funding. And it's already been approved in the Senate, in the US Senate. So that's all it's doing, is asking for federal funding, which I don't see a problem with that letter.
They don't have my vote.
Okay, let's bring this to a vote. Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve that letter.
Oh, wait a minute, well, yeah, let me pull this, I'm gonna pull this out of the
Consent.
consent agenda. Remove number 14 from the consent agenda. Tony had a motion, can I have a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
I have two aye.
No.
How many nays? Nay?
Nate?
Okay,
3 nays?
yeah,
It does not pass.
does not carry. Discussion regarding the letter of support for the Narrowsburg School. I'll receive that and read that letter.
I would like to see that table for like a month, so we see what the heck is going on, how much money they have, if this is viable, before we put anything behind it, for subject to review before we put this forth on. We
Okay, I
do a
think
letter.
there's a grant deadline that's in order here. Andrea, do you wanna speak to this?
I can read the description of what the application is, if that helps clarify. I don't know,
Andrea would have
Okay.
what's that, I don't know, I need more specifics.
Put your business plan, everything else to make this work so it doesn't end up back on the tax rolls 2 years down the road.
The business plan that you
Yes.
have for
So your
them?
solution is to make the school work.
Yeah, well, I have a whole business plan, I'd have to send it to you so you could read it, but we're applying for a grant for acquisition. So
I
this
know.
is actually money to buy the school from, through the CFA application process through the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council. So once we get that money set aside for acquisition, then that building can be secured and we can move forward with all the other capitalization that it needs.
Say, Norm does bring up a good point, because if let's say the solution product, whoever buys the school, that is relying on the town to back them, and then, if they don't have the funding, let's say they buy it, but they don't have the funding to continue, and then the school gives it back up for either a tax sale or short sale, somebody could come in and buy it on the cheap, and you don't know who's buying it on the cheap, and that is the center of our community, so we gotta be careful of that.
Well, I think it's been accepted, but we do
Right.
need to write a letter from the town, in support of the project for this application.
That's the question, I think, that is
Yeah.
whether the town board
Does it support it or not?
supports this project or not. I mean,
Right.
as opposed to going into step 6, 7, 8, I mean, the point is, let's just discuss whether the board here, is behind this concept and this project.
We don't, how do you discuss something you don't know much about, Tony?
Because I think, didn't you send a PDF file to the board sketching out with aerial photographs with basically a mission statement, aerial photographs, a concept with a hub, agritourism, all of this stuff, and didn't everybody on the board see that?
No.
I have sent it to a number of you people. I mean, I can read
Do you
there's
have
a
it with
short,
you?
what's that? I have that at home. I don't have that full the PDF, that I don't have that on me right now. I just brought it's a priority status deadline that's tomorrow, and it's at 5 p.m., and it's to get priority status. We're actually partnering with the IDA. We have both cross-referenced each other's applications. We have Kirsten Gillibrand support, we have Bonisic support, we have Gibson support, we have,
Within 5 minutes, can you tell the board what your concept and
Yeah,
plan
I
and
can
project
make
is?
this, sure.
All right.
The Narrowsburg School was built in 1928 and shuttered in 2005 as a result of Sullivan West Central School District merger and falling enrollment. Closing of the school, this local rural school has resulted in economic distress to the downtown area and the local community who have generational ties to this building. The Solution Project seeks to address these issues by establishing a unique economic development initiative to support and preserve the natural assets of the Upper Delaware and Finger Lakes regional food sheds through the creation of a food hub. By partnering with SUNY Sullivan with the creation of a Western campus at this site, essential food systems related certification and job training programs will be provided. This initiative will be implemented by acquisitioning, renovating, and repurposing this building as a mixed-use facility to serve these needs. Supporting small family farms and value-added processors, this effort will also address the unmet demand for local food in the immediate community and the larger New York City market. The Solution Project's vision of adaptive reuse for the Narrowsburg School will serve as an example for the many other shuttered schools throughout New York State and will foster community education and agripreneurship by strengthening existing local, regional, and national partnerships.
Thank you. So what we're talking about here is adaptive reuse of a building which has been vacant and in mothballs for many, many years, which is in the middle of town, central location, and seems to me for many years the school board really didn't know what they were going to do with that building. I'm not going to lay any blame on the school board because chances are the people that were on the school board 10 years ago are different than who they were in 5 years, who are now. But the point is, we're saddled, the town of Tusten is saddled with that building because it's not like DV, which is 8 miles out of Calicoon. It's right in the middle of town, and I would like to see it back on the tax rolls. I would like to see something reinvent itself with that school. And to tell you the truth, I don't hear too many other people coming up with creative solutions on what to do with that school. And here we've got something viable that all we're asking for, I'm sorry, what Solution Project is asking for. Well, I'm not part of Solution Project, okay? But I'm just saying, all they are asking for is our support, the town of Tusten, the board's support.
For the concept.
For the concept. That's basically it.
Well, I think that if the board is gonna support anything, we have to know, in my opinion, because my concern is that school is the heart of this community. And if somebody were to buy the school with the town support, with us supporting it, and then that project didn't have the funding to, now, I don't know if they're gonna, if you guys are a 501(c)(3), Andrea?
No, we're not.
Okay, so you would,
Charitable organization.
okay,
We're looking to put it on the tax rolls.
Uh-huh.
That's our one of our top priorities.
But anyway, it's just, as a businessman, it would be nice to see a business plan to make sure that this is viable. And if it's viable, and the board, I mean, then I would say, yes, we should support it. We have to be careful, because if that school is bought with the town's blessing, and then a year or two down the road, they don't have the funding to continue to operate it, and it goes out for tax auction, you don't know who or what or anything else that's gonna buy the thing.
Couldn't that happen at any time?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, with the towns, you're asking for the town to give it support. The town then has got a role, a function in this whole process.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it would be nice to see, you know, some sort of an idea of the funding, and is this a sustainable project? That's my only question.
Well, the problem is, if we don't approve of this today, there's no grant
Well,
tomorrow.
Right.
that's like, yeah, you might as well.
Yeah,
I've got a
you
letter
don't
of
have
support
community
from
support.
Bethel, the town of Bethel
Yeah.
also wrote me a letter of support.
I mean, the concept is, it's business, it'll bring jobs, I mean,
And actually, it'd be the
and
first
that's-
time it'd be on the
we're looking at the
tax roll.
concept, not the end product. And there's been absolutely, I mean, there's been other bidders on the school that have not been successful, that came up with ideas that, you know, nobody asked for a business plan then, nobody was concerned about anybody's business plan.
Well, Carol, that's the problem right here.
Well-
Yeah.
Where they're asking for the town support, that's the key. If you're not asking for the town support, you do whatever you gotta
But
do.
it's for the concept, like I said, you can't guarantee anybody's gonna be successful in business.
But no, but a business plan, if you're gonna start support it, it'd be nice to see a business plan.
Pardon?
Has the school even considered the offer? Are they considering the offer that they're offering to buy it for? I mean, it's
They're
still the
waiting for a second
taxpayers and the
offer.
board up there.
Waiting for a second offer.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going down to the city on Thursday to the NRDC offices to work on, there's a very prospective investor that's actually from this area that I will leave unnamed for obvious reasons. I think confidentiality is very critical at this
Right.
stage, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, says there's controversy, go ahead, Eileen.
I don't think there's any loss in voting for support of it.
Okay.
Were there any other letters of support that you had gotten, I mean, besides?
Yeah, I've got USDA, I've got Cooper Union just sent a letter in for sustainable design, Pratt Institute.
Elected officials?
Well, Gillibrand's office and Bonasic, Samuelson, our district representative on the county level.
So Bonacek is behind it.
Alan Scott from the Sullivan Partnership. I just got one from the IDA's chairman. We've got a killer list of people supporting the project.
Andre, did you, well, it's kind of in the heart of our community, so maybe they wouldn't be asking for, do you ever put forth a business plan to them or anything like that to show them the sustainability of the project?
Yeah, we always have to present, I mean, it depends who we're presenting to, because somebody could steal our business plan, you know,
Can you
and
please
then market
present
it, and then we have to be very careful about that.
Can you present it to us, and do you have it? You know, that's what I'm asking.
What, for the deadline for tomorrow, I don't think there's enough time for a letter of support at this level, but I would be happy to share it to you at the right time.
Saturday, tomorrow? What the time is up?
Yeah, but I can't vote tomorrow by myself,
No.
you know.
No.
I'm gonna pull this, number 15 from the consent agenda, and we will vote on that now. Can I have a motion?
Are we still in discussion? Are we still?
I'm discussing.
No, you can discuss it, that's fine.
And what's the deadline on this? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow.
the grant deadline,
It's
yeah.
a priority status,
I mean, they're being so transparent about what their intentions are for a building that's been in the middle of town for the last 10 years doing absolutely nothing. I mean, the thing is, as opposed to somebody who might be a speculator trying to make a bid and not even telling the town what they want to even do with it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I find astounding, why it's being very upfront, it's being very proactive, it's being anticipating future use. So how could we not want something good from that building in the middle of town that's gonna be on the tax rolls?
Tony, it's not a matter of that, it's a
No,
matter of a
you're-
business plan.
But I understand what you're saying, Ned, is you're going to step 4 about the funding. Right now, it's just the concept. If you're behind the concept of having that school being a hub and being back on the tax rolls, that's step 1,
Right.
not step 4, step 5. It's
Right.
just step 1, what the concept is.
Well, Tony, the only thing is that on the town board, that we we have the responsibility, if you will, of anything that comes, if the board is gonna endorse something, we need to endorse it with every bit of information
Sure.
available to us. And if that's available to us, like the business plan, and unfortunately, this just came onto our agenda here a couple hours ago, and Carol, I know that you've had a terrible week, so I'm not saying anything
Terrible
about that, yeah. I appreciate that. But now Andrea is kind of in a spot because she needs this funding, but as a town board member, and somebody comes to me and I say, listen, you want our support as a town, and then 2 years this thing goes south and it goes up for tax sale, and then the town board is the one that said, hey, you guys endorsed it, and now what's happening, it's being sold for $55,000 to anybody that's got a few bucks in their pocket.
Wait a minute, I mean, the thing is.
It's a business plan.
I don't, wait, excuse me, I don't wanna go 2 years in the future, because the point being is, one of the reasons that school is shuttered is because the school board at the time thought there was going to be increased enrollment, and there was a reason why they kept that in mothballs. And the point is, I'm not going back to the school board members and saying, boy, you made a mistake. I can't basically worry in 4
yes.
years whether the funding goes through. What I wanna see for that school is, I wanna see that building be adaptive reuse. That's what this is all about. Now, if there were 3 other people that were saying, I want this for the school and I want that for the school, but I don't hear anybody else except Solution Project saying, this is what we would like to do with the school. Now, whether they can cut a deal with the district, that's beyond our,
right, exactly.
We don't know whether that's gonna happen or not, but this is what they're just asking our support for adaptive reuse of that school, and it seems pretty interesting, farm to table, a hub where you get all of this local produce from different farmers. You need a hub to bring it down and transport down to the city. It could be very exciting. They're talking about agritourism, they're talking about education, they're talking about lots of stuff, and it could happen right in the middle of our town.
Tony, I agree with you 100%. As a member of the community, I 100% agree with you. As a member of this board, if you're asking for the board support, then you've got to come with us with a financial plan and show us that what you're doing is a sustainable, viable project. And that's my point as a board member.
I'm gonna put this motion on the floor. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nate?
Okay. Thank you very much.
So I'm sorry,
3-2.
3 ayes,
3 ayes. Tony, Carol, Eileen.
3 ayes and 2 nays.
And consent agenda. Adopt items 12 and 13. Can I have a motion? To accept the minutes and to send Justice Nottingham to
Send 'em.
Lake Placid.
I'll second that.
So move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Board comment. Ned?
I want to thank everybody for their donations, for the fireworks, and for their support. I think it was great. I talked to a lot of merchants in town, and they said they had the best 4th of July they've had in a long time. And yeah, so that was that was very nice. That was very consoling. Carol, if I could, can we ask the design committee to bring Chazen to us next month and make a presentation to the board so the board knows exactly what's going on with the design project committee? And I believe they have a meeting tomorrow night, isn't that right? So I would really like to hear what's going on with the design committee and bring them.
Statuses of everything and what's been done, what hasn't been done, what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, Carol, if you would, the TLDC, let's get that old business done last year. I sent an email to everybody on the board. If we could put that on the agenda and let the board deal with the issues as they see it, and so that we can get that put behind us and done with, I'd appreciate that.
I would like I said, I want to call Cooper Neiman and ask them to be here.
Okay.
I have a
charge us,
Cooper
though.
Arias.
Would you rather just come to a regular scheduled meeting with Chazen? Because if
Why?
they're gonna
Yeah.
charge us extra,
Why are they gonna
Yes.
charge us?
they
They
charge.
charge us to come
They have
down
to
here.
charge for everything that all they have to
That's not part of our.
No.
Not to come to the board meeting, no.
We went through enough meetings with other people having them
Yeah.
down there for every bloody thing when they didn't need them.
Yeah.
So
Is
what do you-
Chazen supposed to be there tomorrow night? I don't know what
Management
Carl
of
has
that
on
was
the
absolutely
agenda.
horrible.
I haven't heard from anybody.
Well, there is a meeting tomorrow night.
I don't have my
Scheduled.
calendar with me right now, so I
Well,
couldn't.
it's scheduled, I said.
Well, still, maybe somebody should, from the design committee, should be
Find out,
sitting here
yeah.
telling us where the status is
Carl.
after this whole night.
Ask Carl, we'll ask
Yeah.
Carl.
Yes, somebody just
I
bring
just,
the boy up to speed.
yeah, I think maybe if the board came to a regular scheduled Chazen
Chazen
meeting
meeting.
and
Right.
asked those questions, then it wouldn't cost extra,
Right.
but you would get the
I
info.
mean, I've been there for a lot of them, and there's still stuff that's goes back and forth. If you're even sitting in the audience, you don't know about, so it should all be brought up to
I'm not
speed.
disagreeing that you need to know certain
Right.
information, I'm just saying,
Yes.
let's do it at no
At a
extra
design
charge,
meeting.
that's all.
I
At
agree
a
with that.
design meeting, when Chazen is scheduled, the board can attend, as long as the board doesn't discuss, as long as you're not engaged in a discussion that's going to lead to a decision, a vote, okay? So you can attend another committee meeting and you can ask questions of them, just as long as the board doesn't engage in a full-out conversation that will lead to.
Well, maybe Carl at least. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll try to make the meeting tomorrow night, but life's a little busy these days. So, what time's that meeting tomorrow night?
5:30. 5:30.
Okay. Eileen?
Thank you. As most people know, Carol's mother has passed away, and a lot of you know her. But I don't know if you realize that she also was a supervisor in the town of Tusten.
No, councilman.
She was a councilman?
Yes,
Close,
councilman.
close.
She was a very listened to councilman, and she also there was a time, I wish I could talk. There was a time, my husband thinks I can. There was a time that people who were on the council, once they were off, they still got insurance for the rest of their life. And her mother was the one who saved the town a lot of money, I mean, in many other ways, but she was a very, very good woman and very helpful in this town. I think we should do something as far as the board too.
Thank you, Eileen.
What's your thoughts?
What we have done for others, I'm not sure the proper wording.
What have we
Memoriam
done?
memoriam in the paper
Resolution.
is usually the
Yeah,
unit, the standardized wording we use pretty much when we use for Kraus.
We'd have to put that on the agenda another
Yeah,
meeting.
put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
That's all.
Can we do it now, Carol?
We don't have the wording.
Yeah, we have to have the wording.
and I sure as hell don't have it.
No, I didn't.
I can write it, I just
It would
can't.
be nice to present the family with a proclamation.
Well, that's what we, basically, yes, we
Not
would
in the
like to.
paper, but I mean a framed proclamation.
Yes, well, that was what I had in mind.
Well, is somebody doing that? So we don't leave here and nothing gets done? Is somebody,
Well, let's make a motion to approve the beginning of that, the wording and the proclamation and everything else. We can start the process.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Who made the motion?
Eileen.
who's gonna put the wording?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's gonna put the wording? I
Usually
just-
the clerk, she has pretty much.
Yeah, has
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
we
the clerk,
have-
okay, I'll help you if you need help, Carol, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I've gotta find the wording, because I don't know if it's still on the.
We've done it before, so I think.
Yeah,
it
if
should
it's on the
be there.
Just
database, it'll be
recently, I've
there.
even, yeah.
Carol, you got my abstention.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Eileen?
No, but also, I think the board should let you know we feel for you.
Thank you. I
Mother was a
appreciate
good
those
woman.
kind words. You made me cry. My comments. First off, I forgot to, NPS discussion. We discussed this very briefly at the last meeting. I did see, Sean, and there is truth to that rumor. They're not going to be funded. They,
Yeah, I already found that out too.
Yeah.
With the 8% reduction that they've suffered, that's gonna be one of the things that goes. UDC got an 8% reduction on their budget too.
I asked that, we sit down and meet next week, so I will have more information for you on it, after next week, but personally, I think that the NPS being on Main Street is essential to this town. It's one of the good things that came out of the NPS after all the negativity that, was stirred up about the NPS and whether you like their presence on the river or not, and how you feel about that. The visitors, basically almost a little, mini visitor center that it's brought to our town, I think is a vital part of, our tourism and whatnot. I know when I travel and go places, if I see that arrowhead, I know that's NPS, hey, let's stop and get information. Let's see what there is to do. We like to hike, I like to, I know I can go into that office and I can get information. So I think it's just a good thing for it to be in our town. And if that's taken away, I think that, it will be a negative impact.
My thoughts are, I think I mentioned that last week, as you mentioned your feelings, is what it is it's a book, wait, hello,
Excuse me?
right,
Pardon
I I'm talking to everybody. It's a bookstore, okay? It's a bookstore when a tourist comes in, or when a resident comes in with their family from the St. Lawrence. Like I just had people in that live up in Watertown, and they want to learn about birding, or they want to learn about canoeing, or they want to learn about the Erie Railroad. There's all this history that's available there. Now, regardless of what your feelings of the Park Service are, it's a bookstore. I mean, it's not their executive offices. It's not going down to the Roebling Bridge where Zane Gray's house is. It is a simple bookstore that has maps and flyers and educational material, which is right in the middle of Narrowsburg. And I think that I've been up here for 26 years, and I think that we're very lucky to have a bookstore that has all of the attributes of the River Valley here without the political ramifications of what the Park Service did or will do, but they're here. They're here, and we accept that. I don't want to go through, that they're being a militaristic organization, okay? Whether they are or they're not, I don't think they are. But the point is, it's a bookstore. Simply put, and it happens to be not in Callicoon or in Hancock or in Port Jervis. It happens to be right in the middle of our town which has absolutely no commercial vacancies right now. And it's an attribute just like the Arts Alliance is, just like the other stores that grace Main Street, and I think we would miss it. As I said, when I have a relative come in and they say they want to go canoeing or birding or look at the history of this river, you can go to the library, but the point is, it's so easy to go into that bookstore and find material that they have right there. So my point is, I'm sorry to see them go. I spoke to Sean after I heard from Jane, about that, and I would propose just, and I'm sure it's not going to go through, by saying, we're sorry that you've made up your mind if you've already made up your mind, but I hope that you'll reconsider and stay on Main Street.
That's interesting, Tony. And it's an interesting take on American politics. If you look at the national scene, we're all about austerity. This country is in debt trillions and trillions of dollars. 40 cents of every dollar the U.S. government spends is borrowed from the Chinese. And we all want the government to cut, to spend, but don't let it bother us. And that's the problem we have as Americans. We all have to take the hit. And you said that Main Street is completely filled with commercial vacancies. Okay, that's wonderful. So if the Park Service leaves, spending our tax dollars to stay there, and you bring in a commercial entity that moves into that space, that's good. And that's less money that our government is spending to keep that little store open. I think that, we all have to tighten our belts. And if it means that we lose a store or a Park Service or a government entity because our government is finally starting to spend less, then we all need to accept that and not cry foul and let somebody else suffer the consequences when the government closes its naval base or whatever the government has to do to cut back. So this is good. This is what America needs, and it's a very positive thing. And let's bring more commercial entities into the spaces where these government entities were, and we'll all be much better for it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I understand your point, but I'm just saying it's what is in the store, and it's educational material. It's a bookstore. That's basically it. And you can say, okay, as a businessman, as I am, that basically it's really the Arts Alliance who's the landlord that's getting the monthly rent. And basically you can have an educational bookstore which is giving the Arts Alliance X amount of money, or you can have a commercial enterprise, let's say like a custard stand, moving in there and giving the landlord triple that. But the point is, it's really up to the landlord whether she or they want to keep the bookstore there, and that's what it comes down to. My point is that it's an attribute to the town. Sorry to see them go, because it gives educational opportunities for people, tourists that are coming into town, and it's right in the middle of town. That's basically it.
Can I ask something? I don't know if this is an ignorant thing to say, but we do have a library. Cannot this information be put in the library or put in? We have buildings here for learning, can't we?
You could. I mean, the thing is, what you could do is you could have a space within the library that has the history of the Upper Delaware
Let me-
River. In fact, there's a history room, but it's only open so many times during the month. The point being is,
I need
you
to
want,
get to Norm.
I will. The point is, you wanna
Thank you,
make,
Tony.
Eileen, you wanna make it easy for people that come in, especially into the town, and it's right there, and they can walk right in as opposed to saying, well, is the library open and who do I have to see, okay? It shouldn't be hard for that to happen.
Norm?
It comes down to the basic thing, with figures where 400 people per month using it, they have to justify the existence under sequestration with their budget cuts, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
Good deal.
And if they aren't banging the people in, they are not showing the usage, they have other places to spend their money where the usage is required. They have to prioritize like everybody else does.
Well, that's what I'm gonna sit down with him about and find out what the deal is, exactly. So that's. Anybody else have any other discussion on that? Okay, my other board comment is, I would like to thank, our air conditioner, broke down in our office downstairs. Well, we had one go upstairs and one go downstairs within a week of each other. We replaced both. I'd like to thank Mike and Karen Valente. They went and picked the one up, and Mike spent the better part of a day along with Dominic, and Dominic installed the first one for us. Mike actually installed the second one downstairs in the office, made it fit in the wall and whatnot, and actually went home and got paint that actually matched exactly what we had in the
Yeah, it's
office,
funny,
which was
wasn't it?
amazing, yeah. So I would just like to thank all who helped and were involved.
There's- Also, if they can ever utilize, there's an air conditioner up at my place there, and I think it's some kind of expensive in-room type thing, non-window. I don't know what it is, but I never use it. And they did pay quite a bit of money for it from what I hear, and if they
Okay.
can figure out they can use it down here, bring it down here, cause I don't use
I'll
it
have
up
to look at it,
there.
remind me next week, okay?
Remember, you got to dump the pails with those things.
Yeah, yeah, probably, yeah.
I told you I have
That's
water.
okay, yeah. Tony? Board comment? Norm?
I'm done.
Okay. And I skipped public comment too, I apologize. Anybody have any public comment? I'm gonna get to Glenn first.
The only thing I wanna say is, I'm thankful we had the fireworks this year, okay? It was great to see them again. It's Narrowsburg. The only other thing I wanna say is, I think if you're gonna keep having them up there, you wanna watch what the weather's gonna be. I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong, cause I live right underneath of it. And all the stuff that was falling in my backyard, and a lot of it was still smoldering. And between there and the Star is nothing but pines and hemlocks, which is highly flammable. And that could create a problem in a dry year. I also noticed it was just a slight south wind blowing it too, and that blew it over there. I'm not complaining about it, I mean, I don't care about the stuff in my backyard, explosions are good, but,
As long as it doesn't land in an eaglet's nest, we're okay.
Yeah.
but just for food for thought, if we get into a really dry year or something like that,
Good idea.
because it is
Keep
a
an eye
steep,
on it.
it's a steep bank, there is one road that goes across the bottom. But the thing is, one of those embers gets down into the pine needles, the hemlock needles, it'll be 3 o'clock, it could be 2 days later before it actually gets the fire
People
going.
in Pennsylvania were mentioning that when they used to go up here and they would blow it that way over
Yeah.
into the mountain in there.
Yeah. Ed?
I stopped over last week to Aileen Gunther's office to mention to her about our court. That the last session had more than half of the criminals were from the Narrowsburg home. There's really not a whole lot can be done. She's gonna look into it, but you hear that all the time, I'll look into it. I don't think we can do anything, but it's just a shame. It's a shame what we have. I mean, you go down to that Peck's parking lot and see them panhandling, and they don't look for quarters anymore, they want a $5 bill.
Well, that's what I said at the last
I'm
meeting.
gonna do it.
There's nothing that we can do. We don't have any regulatory power over them. So the only thing that we can do is call the Department of Health if there's an issue, call the state police if they're panhandling, walking on the wrong side of the road. I've seen anything on the side of the road, call the state police, they need to be called. If you don't make those phone calls and you don't alert the Department of Health, nothing will be done about it. So if there's a
I am
problem,
gonna
people
stop at
need
the
to be
Department of
aware
Health
and they
for a
need
month, so
to make the
mention
phone
it to
calls.
them also.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Bernie?
First, I would like to applaud Andrea for the work that you can't do any more than she's doing. I mean, this has always been my quest to do something with the school. We're on the right track. You can't vote nay. You gotta vote yay all the way because she's going. She's doing the right thing. I can't say enough about it.
She's doing something that nobody.
Right. And she's doing the right things. It'll be such a great thing to see that come back to life. So Andrea, my hat's off to you. One other, now, who owns the baseball field down?
School.
No, not that one, the other one that they just mowed the whole, who, does the town own it?
On Tomorrow Lane?
Yeah,
All the town does them.
no,
School fire department.
Fire department.
no, not the small ball field. The small one, as you're coming down. Hmm?
On the flats?
No,
No, Tomorrow Lane.
yeah.
Fire department.
I mean, whoever mowed it, did you guys mow it today?
We
Or?
don't mow the field, Landers mows it.
Now, wouldn't that have been a good place for the fireworks?
You couldn't have it there, Barney.
Too close to the Eagles Nest.
Yes.
That's where
But
they
that's,
used to
where we
be.
used to have it.
but
That's where they
they
used
didn't have, I mean, they had it at the big fireman's field.
No.
This is a small,
Years ago, it used to be down on the end.
yeah.
Yes, and then.
I mean,
recent
it
years,
looks
they-
so ideal there. I mean, I thought it would be out of range. I mean,
It
we,
brought it actually closer to the Eagles Nest because the Eagles Nest are over.
we watched, we couldn't find a good place to watch the fireworks. That's probably, we watched it from the ball field down on the flats. And it was right, just about straight with it, but there's a lot of big trees there. I mean, it was a great display, but maybe designate some spots to watch it. Not up by Glenn Swenson's because you don't want to get burned.
Bring an umbrella.
They're gonna burn the whole hill down. Not only do we get fireworks, we get a 10-alarm fire. We gotta think about that. Glenn is right.
How about you a basketball?
That's a serious situation, looking at what unfortunately happened in Arizona. I'm not saying we're gonna have, but that whole hill could go. So it is something to really think about, because those pines are always dry. As much as Ned was so gracious to let us use his property to do it, and also expend some of his own currency, which a lot of people wouldn't have done. And I applaud you, Ned, for that, I really do. You did a great job. But we do have to think about that fire thing. I'm surprised the fire department didn't come up with
They are
something.
there, they are
They're
there,
there and they're aware, so.
they're
Well,
there
that's
during
it for me.
fireworks.
Thank you, Bernie. Yes.
Obviously, the newest addition on Main Street, of course, are the traffic lights, and we've created, seems like another situation now. When you come down Main and approach Bridge, and you're either gonna turn right on Bridge or go over the bridge to Pennsylvania, big sign says, "Stop here on red." Can you still make a right on red if it's clear?
I would say yes.
I would say
I
no.
would say yes.
There's no
Maybe.
sign saying that you
There's
can't.
No
make
sign
it.
saying you can't, but everybody is
The
stopping
only thing you
there.
gotta be aware of
There's a
is
sign there.
there is no stoplight now coming off the bridge.
Right.
So people coming off the bridge are gonna
I'm
keep
just
right
gonna
on
keep
coming.
barreling.
So you gotta watch traffic there, but there is no
But
sign
it
saying you
is
can't make a
still
right on
illegal
light.
right on red,
Yes.
if you're clear.
The only thing I would say that is not is going down Bridge and going to make the right onto the bridge to cross
Right.
to Pennsylvania.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
that
guided
you
by the
have to
light.
stop
Well, you have
and you have to
traffic
stay there
coming the
until
other
you
way
get,
then.
exactly.
But I was there
can't say
today and a couple of my kids with me and I said, I'm not gonna make a right on the light because I don't know.
Right,
If a
That's the
sign
point.
said,
yeah.
right on light, okay.
It's the law.
If there's no sign that you met.
This is like a temporary lash up. This is
Right.
not a true,
It's gonna be there for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
four now, I thought it was two.
And we may not be.
Well, 4 years, 10 years.
After
they
the
gotta bring the
fireworks,
bridge after.
Bernie, we sat there with
Right.
our heart in our
Uh,
hand, waiting for a terrible accident. Because if you were on Main, you had to wait for those lights. If you were going to the bridge and you were 4 cars back and you wanted to go right, there was no way. There's a big
Yeah.
sign, stop on red. It doesn't say stop and go on red. It's not a blinking red light, there's 2 red ones. and nobody was stopping. I don't know how we didn't have a bad accident, because we sat there and watched it,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous.
Oh, people making the left?
It
going
was
into
terrible. They wouldn't stop for the light, they
Yeah.
were fighting with the
They're
people
going
on
against the
down
time
bridge,
light.
you could not go to the right up Bridge Street at
Well,
all.
it's never legal to make a left on
Yeah.
red.
No,
Oh,
about it.
good
No.
lord.
How are you gonna
No.
close that street on, Riverfest Day, Main Street?
That'll actually make it easier.
With no traffic coming?
Yeah,
There'll
it's
be
gotta
no
go.
traffic coming off of Main or onto Main.
It'll only be coming up the back way.
But what,
Yeah.
I mean, what's gonna, everybody will be diverted to
Around here.
Bridge Street.
We'll run past your
So,
house.
I mean, it's gonna be pretty atrocious.
But it always is, that's always
Yeah.
the same, Bernie, it's the
It's-
same
yeah,
traffic
that's
all
the
the
same
time.
thing.
Same.
You'll do that.
Any other public comment?
Let me just follow up on
Yes.
that. There also seem to be now, up on the poles, either sensors or cameras. Are we now,
Sensors.
are we now subject to photographic issuance of tickets? No.
Only if you make a right on the red.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Carol, the cameras, or if there's no traffic on the other side and you're sitting here waiting, it'll change to green for you to go.
Does anybody know if the weight restriction's been lifted on the bridge?
Well, this is the way all the business people are looking at it.
It's lifted.
They told us in the meetings with Senator Baker that as soon as they replaced that grading, and as soon as they went to one lane with traffic lights, the traffic restriction was lifted.
No, the light,
I
the
know.
sign up
The
there
sign
doesn't say anything
Doesn't
about
say
the
it.
weight no more. And
Right.
I heard the same thing as you did.
Yeah, and
When
we're
they got
all, if any one of us
There's
gets
no
a
weight
ticket,
restriction sign now.
if any one of us gets a ticket, we're all going to court together.
And these signs here are by New York State, which probably means they'll be here in about 3 months to change them.
Right.
That's
Takes a while.
Well, they
With
might
some
hurry.
luck.
You're an optimist.
They
Could
might
be
hurry.
worse, it could be PennDOT.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Very good, nice.
Very nice.
Eileen, what's going on with the grandchildren? You okay?